They say loneliness is the absence of people, but what if it's the absence of you? What if the crowds, the calls, the constant connection are just noise cleverly arranged, masking something far more terrifying and far more true? Let me ask you this. When was the last time you sat alone without reaching for something? Not just physically alone, not just briefly quiet, but deeply, profoundly present with only yourself. Because here's the thing. We live in an age of connection, but we're isolated. Carl Jung once warned that the things we use to avoid solitude are often the very things that deepen our loneliness. And today, you'll see loneliness in a way you've never seen it before. Let's begin. Imagine this. You wake up. You check your messages. You don't even know who you're hoping to hear from. There's no urgency, no real care. But the habit is stronger than the silence. A notification makes you feel seen for 3 seconds. You respond and forget it ever mattered. Then another and another. And somewhere in that infinite thread, the day vanishes, but the emptiness doesn't. You put the phone down, maybe turn on the TV or scroll through feeds of people who look happier than you. Then the ache creeps in. You weren't even looking for connection. You just needed proof you weren't alone. And that proof wasn't real. It wasn't presence either. It was distraction. It was denial. It was a pause in the void you've never put into words. Let me show you how Jung saw it. He said that every person has a self, a core identity we abandon beneath busyness and connection. And loneliness is the signal. When you text, not because you miss someone. When you call, not because you want to speak. When you surround yourself with people, not because you love them. You're not choosing community. You're choosing escape. Here's the painful truth. Most connection isn't connection. It's relief from self-confrontation. But the price is steep. Because every moment of fake companionship creates a deeper hunger for the real thing. And when we don't get it, we feel abandoned. We're not. We're just unaware. Unaware that we've been conditioned to mistake company for communion. Unaware that the loneliness we feel is often a symptom, not a problem. Let me take you deeper. You're 6 years old. You're alone in your room. No one comes. So you learn. Being alone means being forgotten. But when you cry, when you perform, when you make yourself entertaining, people appear. And that reward sticks, so you repeat it for years, until adulthood, where your need becomes unspoken and your connections become shallow. Shallower than your pain, shallower than your truth, shallower than the child inside you who just wanted someone to stay. But here's what most people never realize. Loneliness has memory. Every time you use connection to silence solitude, you wire your body to fear being alone. Being alone becomes unbearable, which is why you can't eat without the TV, why you need podcasts while you walk, why silence feels like death. And Jung knew this. He saw how connection, when misused, becomes an enemy of the soul, not because people are evil, but because we misuse them. The real enemy is the avoidance they allow. Now before we go further, I want you to do something. If this resonates, if you've ever felt lonely in a room full of people, subscribe. Not just because it helps this message reach more people, but because you are not alone in this. And comment below what moment hit you the hardest so far, because it's not weakness to admit it, it's strength to witness it. Now let me show you the trap. Imagine a person wandering through a city surrounded by thousands, but making eye contact with none. Each time they try to connect, it feels hollow, but they don't stop. They think the next person will understand. That's what connection is when it comes without depth. And here's the irony. Real connection, the kind that feeds the soul, is often rare. It doesn't demand quantity. It doesn't distract. It doesn't fill space. It transforms you. It's in a conversation where you're truly seen. It's in silence shared without discomfort. It's in waking up and realizing you no longer need constant validation to feel real. But we don't crave that kind because it's not easy. And yet it's the only kind worth craving. Carl Jung once wrote, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." And we have invented the most sophisticated ways to never communicate those things. Let's keep going. Let's rewind. You're a child again. You're sitting alone at lunch. It stings. You feel invisible. And someone says, just go sit with them. Just smile more. Or, stop being shy. Go make friends. That moment stays with you. Not consciously, but neurologically. Your brain learns solitude equals rejection. Being alone equals being unwanted. And the solution? People. So you grow, and without knowing it, you become fluent in performance. Connection becomes your mask. It speaks when you're too afraid to say, I don't know who I am. It laughs when you're too tired to admit, I'm terrified of myself. It fills the room when all you want to do is disappear. But here's what no one tells you. Every time you replace solitude with stimulation, you lose a little more intimacy with your true self. Carl Jung warned, when the inner world is ignored, the outer world becomes louder. And what is connection, if not the loudest thing in our lives? The texts, the calls, the plans, the notifications, they scream so we don't have to listen. But listen to what? To this, the ache underneath, the need to be known, the desire to know yourself, the wound of never being truly seen. You see, connection is not bad. It's sacred when chosen with intention, but it becomes poison when it replaces presence. Let me ask you this. Have you ever felt lonelier after being with people? After scrolling through perfect lives? After a party where you faked smiles? After spending time with someone who never asked how you really were? After surrounding yourself with noise when what you needed was silence? That loneliness isn't because people are cruel. It's because a part of you knows you weren't really met. You just avoided the meeting with yourself. This is where most people misunderstand Carl Jung. They think shadow work is about isolation or becoming a hermit. But that's shallow. Shadow work is about looking at the moments you abandon yourself for company and saying, I see you and I choose truth over distraction. Let me give you a story. There was a person who couldn't stop being around others. They said they were extroverted, a people person. But every friendship ended the same. Overgiving, resentment, distance, repeat. And when asked why they couldn't stop, they said, I just love people. But that wasn't true. What they loved was escape. Because when they were alone, the silence revealed too much. Turns out they never learned to sit with themselves. So connection became the armor until it couldn't protect them anymore. This story isn't rare. It's the hidden story of millions. People who confuse noise with belonging, company with intimacy, being liked with being known. And the danger isn't that people exist. The danger is when we never question why we need them constantly. Here's the myth we need to destroy. Connection is not healing. Connection is not peace. Connection is not salvation. Connection is a tool, and tools, when misused, turn dangerous. Let's flip this around. Think of the last time you spent time alone intentionally. You resisted that call, that plan, that urge to fill the space, and later you felt clear, calm. Why? Because solitude isn't just silence, it's self-trust. And trust is the real medicine. Because when you trust yourself, loneliness no longer controls you. You choose connection intentionally, fully, freely. That's when people become beautiful again. Not a fix, not a crutch, but a celebration. Now imagine this. You walk into a room, there's no one there, no phone, just you. And instead of panic, you feel home. Not because you have everything, but because you are everything. That's what Jung meant by individuation. Becoming whole, not through others, not through constant socializing, but through integration. The ability to connect without using people as a bandage. The ability to enjoy solitude without fearing it. The ability to be with yourself and like who you're with. That's the goal. But you can't get there by chasing endless company. You get there by lowering the volume of your connections and listening to what they were covering up. So what does that look like? It looks like noticing when you reach for the phone and asking, Who am I trying not to be right now? It looks like letting yourself feel that solitude without patching it with plans, with people, with noise. It looks like choosing the deeper connection, the one that takes effort, that demands honesty, that comes with vulnerability. Because here's the hidden truth. Real connection isn't constant, it's intentional. The best friendship is with someone who can sit in silence with you. The best conversation is after you've been honest, not impressive. The best belonging is after you've stopped performing and been accepted anyway. Let me give you a moment of pause. If this message has shaken something inside you, good. That's what awakening feels like. It's not grand, it's quiet, it's not dramatic, it's decisive. And the decision is simple. Will I keep filling the void with people, or will I meet myself fully, bravely, without needing someone else to make me real? Carl Jung believed that our neuroses are not caused by being alone, but by our refusal to confront what being alone reveals. And connection, when used unconsciously, ensures we never confront it. But now that you see it, what will you do? Let's go deeper. So here we are. You've heard the warnings. You've felt the tremors of recognition. You've watched the mask of connection begin to slip. Now comes the part no one wants to face. The truth that doesn't just sting, it shatters. Because to truly reclaim your life from false connection, you must admit something terrifying. You've abandoned yourself, not once, but quietly, daily, over time. Every time you said yes when you meant no. Every time you stayed in the group chat when you wanted silence. Every time you surrounded yourself with people, because the alternative was you. Every time you told yourself, this makes me feel less alone, when really it just helped you avoid yourself. But listen carefully. This isn't shame, it's awakening. You're not weak for doing what you thought kept you safe. You're not broken for needing others to feel real. You were surviving, and now, finally, you are ready to live. Because once you see the loop, once you understand that most connection was never intimacy but sedation, you no longer chase the same things. The party doesn't fill the void. The small talk doesn't satisfy the soul. The surface friendship doesn't heal the wound. The constant availability doesn't cure the ache. Because the real pain wasn't being alone. It was the absence of self. Let me paint this in a way that sticks. Imagine your life as a house, and inside it lives your wounded child, your ignored truth, your unmet need. But instead of entering through the front door to meet them, you build a village outside. Friends, followers, plans, noise. You throw a party in the yard while your inner self waits unseen. That's what unchecked connection does. It builds community outside your house so you never go inside. But healing, real healing, is walking through the silence, stepping inside the house, sitting with yourself and saying, I'm here now, you can speak. That's the work Jung spoke of. He didn't want people to become hermits. He wanted them to become unafraid of solitude, to know that being alone isn't the absence of love. It's the presence of everything we've avoided. Now here's the climax, the final myth that must be broken. You've been told that connection is the goal, that happiness means being surrounded, that the more people you have, the less lonely you are. But freedom isn't about always having someone. It's about not needing someone to feel whole. True connection is not the text, not the like, not the invitation. True connection is the moment you realize you no longer need to be distracted from yourself. You can sit in the solitude and smile, not because it's easy, but because it's honest. Honest with presence, honest with truth, honest with power. You become the kind of person who doesn't fear being alone because you already carry the companionship. And people will notice. They'll say you've changed. You'll cancel more, respond slower, choose fewer but deeper friendships. And they'll ask, why aren't you coming out? Why don't you need us as much? Why are you okay being alone? And you'll smile, because they won't understand that you're not avoiding anyone anymore. You're simply present. That's what scares most people, because when someone stops needing others to feel okay, they become powerful. uncheckable, undistracted, unmanipulable. Loneliness no longer threatens them. FOMO doesn't control them. Rejection loses its sting because presence has returned, and presence is the purest form of freedom. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And who you are is not a collection of connections. You're not a social media profile. You're not a list of contacts. You're not defined by who responds to you. You are a whole being, and wholeness is not always comfortable. In fact, it rarely is. It's solitary. It's challenging. It's inconvenient. But it is real, and it will feed you in ways shallow connection never could. So the next time the loneliness hits, pause. Not to fight it, not to fill it, but to ask, what is this trying to tell me? That question alone can change your life, because it breaks the loop. It hands you the truth. It reminds you, you are not your loneliness. You are the one who chooses how to meet it. So let me leave you with this. You'll never look at loneliness the same again. Not because people are bad, but because now you see it clearly. You'll still love, still connect, still enjoy the warmth of companionship, but you'll do it with awareness, and that awareness will protect you from trading your peace for temporary company. It will make your friendships sacred, your solitude cleaner, your boundaries stronger, and your silence golden. Because the connection you don't need to chase is the only kind worth having. Thanks so much for watching. If you resonated with this message, please leave a like and a comment right now. Subscribe if you haven't already. It helps others find this content and supports this kind of work more than you know. I'll see you in the next video.